be starting just with the first game of the Rulers of Rome and Black Forest. And, well, what's it going to be? It seems like that it's going to be something based on land, so is it probably some standard Arabia? Oh yeah, it is a standard Arabia in here, so let's see how the players are going to be facing each other in this interesting matchup of the starting playoffs, a round of 16 of RTS League's Age of Empires 2, the Conquerors Clan League Season 39 already. Looking at the lineups, you should be seeing quite interesting matchup, as obviously RoRs are having quite the big guns in here with Eddie, Jon Snow and Desert Fox, whereas BF's Black Forest are having so far as the lineup Philip AJS, Dunedain and J Squared, which is also a pretty decent lineup. And we mustn't really forget that even though there is a difference in the ratings in there, we can be saying that BFs are something like 1750 to 1800, RORs are about 2k, all of them, 2k plus and such. Still, it doesn't mean that BFs couldn't win, especially if they put some thought into the strategies that they are going to be implementing in the games to come. Settings for the playoffs for the first round of 16 are best of 3, so it's going to be just up to 2 wins, who gets to 2 wins closer or rather faster, and later rounds like the quarterfinals, semifinals and the finals together with the bronze match are going to be best of 5. So yep, this is the only round that is a bit shorter than the rest. So far looking around the map, I don't really see any kind of sick movement, or rather sick movement, wrong movement of different colors where it shouldn't be, but this could be it. As RoR Eddie is definitely going to be stealing a boar from Dunedain, and well, that's a pretty big problem because you can see that Dunedain was exactly going in there. I'm going to switch into him if he actually saw that. Yeah, he definitely did see it. So he saw that the boar is in there and he has just noticed that unfortunately the boar is going to be stolen, and that's not something that he would be all that happy about. I would be pretty sure about it. So that's nicely played. And that is, oh, that's actually going to be a counter steal. As Dunedain is doing exactly the same thing to his opponent Eddie. So that's just one boar for one. So that's very nice. They're actually trying to run away from each other, not really interested in some shenanigans. Both of them, this is quite nice healthy. And the Eagle Scout is also having quite a lot of health just about now, so it seems to be pretty decent. But there is Eagle Warrior from Philip AJS, who will be attempting to basically stop this steal from happening and basically make a counter steal in there. So let's see if he's going to be successful. I don't really think so. This is very close to the TC. So I would be surprised if Eddie actually let this get away from him. And well, yeah, right now especially with the villagers getting into the TC, there's not much that could be happening from this Eagle Warrior. Well, that was interesting action at the very start, as we have seen both of these players with successful steals from their opponents, and that basically means they will be having a start attack without any kind of problem. And you can see there was no delay for the yellow, as he's having still enough sheep, and he did have the hunt right in the spot where he was going for the boar. For the blue player, also not any kind of problems. He was just finishing with the first boar, not really, obviously. Probably finishing with the sheep sphere, or rather first. But that wasn't really anything that would be bothering him all that much. Yep, just Eddie talking about it, that while he was stealing the war from his opponent, he was also stealing from his, so that was very nicely played from BFs, and I would be expecting rather that RoRs would be a bit better in this because they are high rated, which means that they should be more skilled on Arabia. Rather, the skill should be more shining through, but this is definitely a confirmation that we are in for a very nice game, as BFs are most definitely not going to be giving the games easily at all, and are definitely hoping that they can even advance into the quarterfinals. So there are a bit of shenanigans at the bottom also happening with the boar, and it seems like that actually J Squared is trying to somehow steal a boar from Desert Fox, and he's having all kinds of troubles with that, because Desert Fox is also having a scout in here. Unfortunately, a bit of idols on the left, you can see. He's kind of prepared for mill or anything, because he does have the hammer as a builder. And this is going to be quite tricky for J Square, because Steel is definitely doing a good job, not only delaying the boar, but dealing some extra damage into the scout. And, oh, careful, careful, you're getting far away. Oh, that was pretty close, because if he gets too far away, that will mean that the boar will actually lose aggro. And right now with the villager to go in help from the barracks. Oh, yeah, this exactly happened. Nice reaction. He will have to kill it probably here. There's not much of a chance. take it elsewhere, and right now, well, he does have the ball quite nicely in his hands. And it seemed like the Desert Fox actually gave up in favor of killing the Scout, which is not a bad trait for him, because even though he loses the war with quite a lot of hunt or other food in there, this also means that the Scout is going to be quite useless for the early raiding, and that will be important in the early drashes. You see the drash from Desert Fox. There doesn't seem to be any drash coming in from Eddie, as he is Mayan, so that of course wouldn't be all that expected from him. But from Desert Fox, who is Hans, that's usual. And who is the Hun from the other team? J Squared. Okay, so J Squared, that's exactly this guy, and he is going to be drashing as well. So yeah, pretty much very nice fight between them. But if it wasn't for the lost boar for the teal player. Advancing into Feudal Ages as we are, Dunedain was quite fast actually into the next age, that's slightly unexpected. Advancing with just 21 release, and this is basically telling us that the other players, especially the pockets, are of course going to be advancing into the next ages and jumping into castles. And as we can see that Eddie is already walling pretty heavily, he's having a very nice map at the very top. He's quite probably going to be just jumping into a castle age as you would be expecting with Mayan, and that could signal a standard build-up of, especially with all those stone miners about now, dropping a castle and going for the Plumtachas. Red player isn't really walled at all. He's in the pocket, so he was probably hoping that he can be safe from any kind of raiding. He's at least in the palisades. Oh, but there is a way through, most definitely. And this villager is definitely making his work count on making it a much bigger hole. And oh yeah, he is through. He is through, and Eddie was actually seeing that exactly. He was even telling Jon Snow that he's having the wrong wall, or rather not finished wall, and that's a bit of a problem. And maybe there actually was a wall from some kind of stump or anything, but it's not there anymore, and that's of course a bit of a problem for the Red's economy. Well, that's not going to be happening all that much in here, as we are going to be switching into the Drash. And it's basically just a Drash from Desert Fox, it has to be said, because J Squared has been forced to basically defend with all he has, losing militia in here, and since he's having just one, it's almost looking like that he actually lost the other ones somewhere in the fights as well. So that's definitely not good news for him, and yeah, that's at least something extra for Desert Fox, who has lost the boar a bit earlier. So Castle Age jumping for Felipe JS, who is in the pocket, so that's understandable. We'll barrow for Dunedain for some good economy. Interesting why he actually advanced so fast into the next age then. But let's see. Yeah, this is right next to the wall, so that's nicely placed. And is he actually knowing about it, or is it just luck? No, it's just pure luck. It's just pure luck for him, and he is working on quite nice walling. And since it's Mongol, that's definitely going to be needed if he has some undisturbed boom for his jump into the Imperial Age and the Magudais and whatever nonsense is that Mongolian players do in the ages. Quite nice raiding from him though, and Red seems to be having all kinds of problems even though he is leading in the score. It's basically just because he isn't jumping into Castle Age, as Eddie is going in there as well just about now, and Desert Fox as well. That means that he will, in the pocket as a Mongol, left kinda alone at this stage, which is not really ideal, because I would be saying, or rather thinking, that Mongol needs to be the player who has basically the calmest game, as basically the games are often decided when the Mongol joins with full upgrades and such into the battlefield, and as PFs can delay that right about now through the very nice raiding, well, that could be a significant advantage for Black Forest. Well, so we'll be attempting to advance through castle pretty soon as well. Jon Snow, well, just now, exactly as we are switching into his point of view, and well, he did lose at least a few of the scouts in here, but he's definitely not giving up and making life very, very difficult for his opponent, who is just about now having just 2 villagers on gold. Yeah, that's definitely not enough for some kind of switch into knights, which is usually what Mongolian players do, or other Mongolian players do. Let's turn off the chat, that we don't have any kind of spoilers. And looking around the map, we are seeing pretty much the standard stuff in here. We can also see the skeletons that are having at least a few left teal tethers on them, so that means that Thrash for the teal player is also gone, but he doesn't really mind all that much. But what he definitely does mind is right now the raiding through the scouting cavalry, but of course with the amount of villages, it's not really all that much of a problem, with the half health on all those scouts. So nicely played by Yellow. This was really nice raiding, both on the red player and right now on the teal one. But you can see that Desert Fox is switching into Cavalry Archers, and that's, well, not much of a problem so far, but it will be, because you can see that purple is wide open. And it's definitely not going to be finishing with the walls soon enough. You can see second town center from him, whereas he seems to be switching a bit more into the rights. And in the pocket, that's also quite interesting. And I'm not really liking this all that much from Black Forest, that they are not walling at all. They were probably thinking that since the yellow player was doing so good job with the early offense and basically putting his opponents on the defensive, that it could be enough, but it's definitely not going to last much longer, because right now, exactly as you're expecting, Eddie is going to be advancing into offensive with plumed archer raiding, and we are going to be seeing what from the red player, of course, a bit of night raiding with extra town centers coming up, second and third, and of course you already saw that Desert Fox is switching into cavalry archers to have a bit of fun with purple. Purple though is quite nicely ready for him with at least a few knights already, so that seems like that he's at least going to be able to stall his opponent for a moment, but really, I cannot recommend enough that green should be walling, because he's in the pocket, he's going to be having the most, or rather the strongest echo, and if he can prevent himself from being raided, you can see 1, 2, 3 TCs already. Yeah, that could definitely help them in the later game, and they most definitely shouldn't underestimate what's going to come. Yeah, already moving straight into the pocket, he's not even going for the yellow player. Going straight into the pocket just like that, and you can see that that's maybe also because Chosen Snow already scouted what is happening in here. Also, oh well, this is a bit of a problem, because green has just left his base to go help through bottom, defend against those cavalry archers, and of course that's not going to be helping all that much, as they are having very nice maneuvering abilities, and that will mean, yeah, still continuing problems for BS. So at the top, you see that the blue player is going to be arriving in the base. Oh, there's actually a way through. Let's switch into Philip AJS if he actually knows about it, and he does. If he noticed, because it's kinda tricky in there. But the Eagle Warrior is most definitely quite nicely looking around here, and oh, this is a problem. Because they have absolutely nowhere to run. The next TC is very far away, and there's going to be a clutter of the villages. And oh my, this is exactly why you need to wall on Arabia. Even if you're a pocket, or maybe especially because you're a pocket. As when you're a pocket, you are having strong economy, good booming, and you are quite susceptible to losing quite a lot of villies if you are not careful, and that's exactly what is happening just about now. But at least since Philip AJS is in the pocket, he's already having at least a few defensive units ready just about now. So an idle in here on the houses, but it's not really much of a problem. So let's have a look at the bottom. There's a bit different trading going on from Philip AJS on his opponent, the teal player, who is having quite a lot of cavalry archers actually engaged in the defense, which is not ideal for him. 1, 2, 3 TZs in the meantime, and well, he definitely has to defend because he's under a bit of a double, as J-Squared is also sending knights into the fight with him. You can see all the skeletons in here. So there were at least a few villagers killed, but some of them were also from the scouts from the yellow player a bit earlier, so that's not really all that much of a problem. At the same time, Teal is doing a pretty good job, and even though he is basically the last player on the score, it definitely isn't reflected in his importance on the game. Now, so far he's having 2 flanks of cavalry archers, and he's definitely making life very difficult for his opponents, both in the defensive and right about now in the purple space, also in the offensive. Yeah, this is nice attempt by actually red to open another route into opponent's base, which is definitely nice to see, as he was trying to surprise the yellow opponent, who is just now having a few units inside his home base. At the stable, Chemos. Definitely a good idea, and since he's quite nicely closed off on the right side, I would be expecting that he's just going to be right now booming 1, 2, 3 TCs, or rather 4, 4 TCs, that's kinda greedy, isn't it? Compared to just 3 TCs from the red player, and let's see if it's going to be paying off or not. Not exactly sure. Not exactly sure. Yeah, this is kinda tough, and it should be resulting to big problems for those plumed archers, but otherwise it seems to be just now connecting both of these flanks into one. Both arrows coming from Eddie and Philip AJS, but they are both Mayans going for the same strategies, so that's kind of understandable. Problems with the wolf. Not really for much longer. 3 and 4 TC being built for J squared. Also interesting to notice as a Han. And looking at the build counts, actually we are seeing for BF 71, 61, 65, whereas for RoR 50. That's just a very low number for Desert Fox, to be honest, but he seems to be managing quite fine looking at the number of army. And Jon Snow 67, Eddie 72, so it's almost looking like that actually BFs are having a better boom in here. But still, so far, the Micro and the Radiant seems to be better for RORs. So let's see if BFs can actually translate this advantage that they are having in the economy in some kind of decisive push in the early Imperial Age or something like that. They should be definitely advancing faster into Imp than their opponents. Still just 3 TCs in here. And for the yellow player also looking like 3 still the same, or rather is it 4? Yeah, it's 4. We have been looking at that a bit earlier. And for the blue player 1, 2, 3. Okay, 3 TCs for the Mayam. Well, that's pretty much really the same as for the green player. So that's going to be a bit of an engagement at the bottom. And it seems a pretty big problem right about now for BFs, because RORs are having much bigger army than their opponents. Not only in the plumed archers as opposed to Philippe JS, who is just now jumping into Imperial Age, which might be the explanation on the lack of the army in here, but mainly the cavalry archers are a pretty huge problem just about now. Because you can see that J Squad is not prepared for that at all with the number of his knights, and he definitely cannot do anything, especially because of the very nice placed hill that is quite assuredly making those farms not viable at all. Alright, so there's going to be a castle drop at the top against yellow player who is advancing into Imperial Age just at the same time as RoR Eddie. And well, it is not half bad, because I'm kinda sure it's going to be very close to actually shooting at the gold in here, and since it's very close by to the border of Dunedain, well, he will be having a very hard time the next game, as obviously don't see all that much extra gold for him, like literally none. So once he runs out of this gold, he will definitely need to somehow secure this one. That's going to be problematic, because right now he knows that the castle is in position already. And green still isn't walled, and he's definitely going to be paying for it yet again. And, well, it's never late to build a wall. You can see that he's going to be switching into Eagle Warriors just about now. But really, he should be working on it, because that's going to be costing him a lot of villages, a lot of economy, and that's not something that they can really afford, especially with RoR catching up quite strongly, and even getting better economy with Jon Snow in the pocket having 101, whereas Philippe JS in the pocket is having just 93. So the economy is switching around as the players are advancing into Imperial Age all across the map. Some interesting upgrades coming up. Well, leather archer armor. So Desert Fox is going to be sticking with the cavalry archers in teams. And here we go with the heavy radiant into the woodline yet again, basically the same spot. Not well defended at all. And, well, looking on the left side, oh, this is going to be a pretty big problem, because Eddie is playing very, very nicely indeed. He's having flank on the right side, Green's base, right now he's having a pretty huge army on the left, and he's going to be denying both these siege workshops, and even though the castles are coming up, so cavalry archers, aka Mangurais, are going to be in pretty decent numbers, it's still not all that ideal, because plumed archers in the big numbers are pretty strong against them, and that will most definitely delay what the BF Dunedain is going to be attempting to do. So yet another castle finished. Eddie just now saying that there are going to be Eagle Warriors, because he has just noticed that he's gonna get hammered by them, but at the same time Eddie is doing a pretty good job raiding the economy, and he is dropping his opponent to, or rather keeping him around 94, which was something that we were talking about like 2 minutes ago, and he hasn't moved from there, but Jon Snow did. And he accumulated extra about 15 villages above that. So the difference is just growing out of any proportion, and it is quite dangerous right about now for Black Forest. They need to be careful about all this. Okay, so it seems to be that he will be attempting to go into the pocket. Fortunately, castles are already waiting. Pretty decent numbers and such. Oh my, that's a pretty big number. And with, yeah, trebuchets coming in from both sides, I don't really think that this battlefield is going to be moving anywhere anytime soon. But what's potentially going to be a problem is this. because this one villager is most definitely not going to be enough. And you can see that right now, since green wasn't doing anything about the walling, it actually forced yellow to do it. And that's not something that he wanted, and he will not finish for that reason either. And with the pretty huge raiding army just about now being signaled by the yellow player, yeah, big problems coming this way. Even for the yellow player, because right now he's going to be denied the stone and maybe potentially even the gold pretty soon, as those palisades should be reasonably easy to get through for all those plumed archers. You can see that they can even shoot there right off the bat. Looking back at the bottom, we can see that teal has been forced into a bit more of a defensive, and there's definitely a push into the pocket of RoR. Just looking if J-Squared was advancing into Imperial Age. So far he isn't, but since Desert Fox isn't either, or rather he is just about now, I was just looking if he's already in. That wouldn't be that much of a problem, but since Desert Fox definitely is, well, it might be quite late for this kind of attack, and especially with the lacking support of the purple player, who will definitely be quite outmatched pretty soon once the cavalries come into the fun. And well, Mangurais are not even half bad against the knights when they are quite nicely upgraded. So a bit of raiding right now going on from Felipe JS as he's trying to somehow kill the pocket of his opponent, rather of their opponents. But at the same time, this is also going to result in pretty decent trading on the right side on the wood line, but unfortunately for the teal player, purple is quite nicely knowing exactly what is happening and is paying enough attention. Yeah, it's not like it's going to matter all that much though, as the way through is open and teal is going to be coming into the base and wrecking absolutely everything that is going to be coming under his power and strength of all those bows. And that's going to be painful. That's going to be quite painful. But let's have a look at the top, where even though blue has lost the castle, there is going to be yet another one a bit further rebuild, and yeah, quite a lot of economy actually killed for Dunedain. You can see he has lost the DC that was about next to the gold, and since the gold is running out and there was a lot of problem in here as blue has gotten through, but has been killed since. Still a lot of farming denied to the yellow player, and that's definitely going to be working towards a decent advantage, and you can see the difference in score is getting quite big indeed. Right now Felipe JS is probably going to be the deciding member of the team for Black Forest. But looking at the not really significant amount of Eagle Warriors, even though they look decent enough with the micro that Eddie is just now showing, it's most definitely not going to be enough. He needs to hurry up if he will be the one to save his team overall. You can see the trickle of all the units across the map, as they are just coming all the way into the pocket in here, but not really for much longer, as he seems to be kind of switching into Eddie. He's nicely walled, but probably not for much longer. Those guys shouldn't be having all that much of a problem getting into the economy. And well, there is already a trade being started at the very back, as they are thinking about it. That's something that they most definitely should continue with. So Imperial Age right now just for J-Squared as well, so Cavalry coming in of course. And is there going to be a switch for Desert Fox? Because so far he's at Cavalry Archers, Blade Bard in armor. Okay, so he is going to be switching into Knights and Cavaliers as well. And well, you can already see them, that they are researched and going to be helped by Mango Dice from Jon Snow in the pocket. A decent number already. So I'm fairly certain that we should be seeing Eagle Warriors complemented by Halberdiers pretty soon as well. So far we don't really see that. Let's switch into Felipe JS. So far fine. So let's switch into the top and let's have a look how actually yellow is doing. Not really all that well, even though this is going to take a bit of time, but still, having just Mangurais, and he definitely could use at least a few either Eagle Warriors or some Cavaliers, so far not coming, and it's going to be a pretty hard fight for him against Eddie, because it's not only, let's just face it, skill mismatch, but also kind of civilization mismatch and economy on top of that, because Dunedain is having just 79 villages, Eddie is having 125, so you can kind of expect what's going to happen, because at the same time, Lions are of course having a cheaper unit in here, whereas Mangurais, they are just so expensive. And the elite Mangurais is just now researched. It's going to be a pretty big problem. And that's exactly why green is going to be helping. Unfortunately for yellow, Jon Snow is also going to be helping his teammate Eddie, and this is looking quite bad at the top, whereas at the bottom we are not seeing any kind of push forward. This is just a defense of the teal player, and he's probably just waiting for the correct moment to go into the offensive, and yeah, somehow at least stall that purple opponent that is quite nicely massing the Cavaliers in here. So right about now we'll be expecting that it would be a good choice for the purple player to actually join into the fight at the top, because otherwise it's just going to be quite heavily lost. You can see that yellow has lost absolutely everything. Has lost all the army in the battle in here. That was a pretty short battle, to be honest. And with green coming in, or was even in the castle, sorry, waiting for the reinforcements to arrive, but they are not really doing anything. They are just basically tanking a few damage. Well, all they needed to do was actually get rid of the siege works, but with the trebuchets coming in, that's going to be all that much harder right about now. And it's looking like that even the plumed archers are going to be having a bit of fun shooting at the castle and getting rid of it, yeah, just by themselves. Well, we are switching to Philip AJS, and he's actually fully housed all the time. And since he's having quite strong economy, I'm kind of thinking if he isn't overdoing it a bit. You can see that he definitely could use a bit less food and even wood at the 156 villages. Whereas Edith is just at the 128 and he's also almost housed, which means that he's having so much extra army as opposed to opponents, but with the switch of the Cavaliers to the top, well, that's definitely nicely played and going to be quite difficult situation right about now, and yeah, nice help to the yellow player. This also though means that at the bottom, Steel with Red are going to be ravaging the base of the purple player himself. And with the castle just now dropped on the forward gold, yeah, this is a big problem, with the paladins also up, and the upgrades in here also quite nicely done. At least in the upgrades in the armory, rather in the armor, but still not fully to the attack. Well, this is just a big problem right about now for purple, as even though he held very nicely at the top, he's not probably not going to be able to hold on much longer at the bottom, as against the paladins with the Mangurais doesn't have all that much of a choice. You can see that the Eagle Warriors are most definitely not doing the job, especially since they are being sent there just tight little groups. And yep, this is looking quite dire at the bottom, so let's have a look how's it looking at the top. If maybe there's some kind of attempt to go into offensive from BFs. So far, not really. They've just stopped the attack in here, but it seems to be that Blue together with Red are just recuperating and preparing for another attack, and once that happens, that's a bit of waste of units in here. That will be yet another time for potentially purple to go in there into offensive yet again, if he wants to help his teammates. Right about now, BFs are doing a pretty good job, at least staying in the game, because they are in pretty heavy defensive, and lacking the paladin so far for the Hans players. For the Hans player is definitely a big problem, because yet another town center has been lost, and villagers are being killed in throngs. Because just a moment earlier, J-Squared and Philip AJS were having 150, and they are dropped to 127, 123. So that's just a total massacre in here of the economy, and even though it might be pretty bad, I'm not exactly sure that it is. Because looking at the economy of RoRs, they are at 130, which means that what I was talking about a bit earlier, that PS were kinda overdoing it a bit. And maybe now they will be a bit more efficient, but well, probably not until... Oh, right now they are in. Paladins actually weren't seen in there. Haven't seen them in the overlay. Didn't really pick up the upgrade, but it doesn't really matter, as you can see it quite plainly as they just about now. So that's nicely played by PFs, and they will be having a pretty good chance of still staying in it, but if it wasn't for this pretty heavy raid. You can see all the skeletons in here, and the trade killed, oh my god, and all the gold release killed, and they are still coming in there because they are absolutely unaware, as green is probably paying enough attention to the bottom. Yeah, because there's another raid in by Jon Snow, and this is so well played by RoRs. Raiding at two places at once, and even though those Eagle Warriors are going to be getting rid of all those Mangurais at the bottom, there is still raiding at the top, and that's something that Philip AJS was absolutely unaware of. And yeah, not even Dunedain seems to be having enough army to actually get rid of this. So nicely played by RoR so far, really all over the place, and doing all the things that actually BFs are unable to catch at the same time. A bit of right now slinging into the pocket, where he has some extra food and whatnot, and this is running into quite an interesting battle at the bottom between J-Squared and Desert Fox, as it's almost looking like that actually J-Squared is having, yeah, very nice number of paladins and such, but they are calling it a GG because they're raiding into the economy, and the situation at the top is just out of their hands, and without the echo and the brutal raiding into the trade route and the gold economy in here, that was just all it took for BFs to realize that the game is not going to finish in their favor. Nicely played, and really very good game we have seen in this first match of the Age of Empires playoffs. So Eddie, yeah, he was playing definitely very great indeed, but Dunedine's raiding in the very early stage of the game, that wasn't half bad either. Really good game. You wouldn't even say that it was the difference between 2Ks and something like 1750 to 1800s. Exactly as I said at the very start. If you are 1700 plus, you are already pretty good. You can really face your opponents that are even much stronger. Well, let's see. The next game, GG.